We did it! We made a short episode, everybody. Woo! I can't believe it myself. But we finally did it. We finally made a short episode. And it wasn't even a mini-sode this time. This is like a full legitimate episode. We do the news. We talk about what we've seen lately. We get around to a topic. This is a full episode. And not only is it a full episode, it has the most members we've ever had on a show. In fact, now that Stacy has left, this episode has every single one of our members on it. Oh, I know what you're saying. What topic could have been so great that it brought all of us together? Well, cult films, obviously. I know, I was surprised too. But, honestly, when you think about it, cult films are films that, create a whole lot of passion within people. We go into further details about our definition of it, so don't worry about that. But, when you think of it that way, it's fairly obvious why we were able to get so many people to come on to this episode. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when I opened up our little Skype window and saw every single member of our crew sitting there waiting for us, I thought there was no way in hell we were going to be able to get this episode done. But you know what? We did it, and actually, it's one of our better episodes, in my opinion. It's focused, and it proves that we can do this. This episode marks another level of professionalism for the Pupcast. And it also marks yet another level of professionalism for us, because I'm proud to announce we are now this close. You can't see me through audio, but my fingers are like really close to each other. We are now this close to having our stuff up on iTunes. In fact, this may end up being our first episode on iTunes. I will leave further details about that to everyone. But I want to thank Mike, who has been working his butt off to get this thing up on iTunes. It shouldn't be too much longer, but I mean, like I said, he is almost right there. Just give us a few more days and it should all start going up. But as I said, our topic today are cult classics. Now, on this episode, we opened up to questions from the audience, and we did actually get some, and thank you, everybody who submitted them. Unfortunately, we got those questions after we finished recording. However, don't worry, we did end up answering those questions during the course of the show, so don't worry about that. But without further ado, I present you with the new, very professional, super classy Pupcast.
Michael Rainey was ill the day the earth stood still, but he told us where we stand. And Flash Gordon was there in silver underwear. Claude Rains was the invisible man. Then something went wrong for Fay Ray and King Kong. They got caught in a cellular jam. Then at a deadly pace, it came from outer space. And this is how the message ran. Science fiction, double feature. Dr. X will build a creature. See androids fighting Brad and Janet, and Francis stars in Forbidden Planet. At the late night double feature picture show.
Hi everybody, I was going to have an intro planned for our theme today that has to do with cults, but fuck it, we've got 8 people here today, so I don't have time for that shit. Alright, I am Aaron. Everybody you also already know, this is the only time in which we have had the entire cast on this show. I have no idea how I'm going to fit all of you on the title card. I never thought I'd say this, but thank God Stacy left, because I can't do 9 people. Alright, I'm
what
Aaron.
she said.
Everybody else, who are you?
I'm Callum.
I'm Mike.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Jackson.
I'm Kevin. I'm center square.
I'm Thor.
don't know if that joke
Yes.
plays outside of America.
I don't know.
And I'm Matt.
Matt, thank you. All right, did we get everyone?
No, I think everyone is now more confused.
No,
Okay,
we got
let's-
it. We got it.
Happy,
Right.
So we
dopey,
just move on.
Sneezy,
Let's go.
grumpy, bashful, dark. What?
Gee, I wonder which one I am. All right. Okay.
Drinky.
Normally, I would start the show by asking everybody, how's everybody doing? But anybody have any interesting stories to tell this week?
Yeah, mine's not really appropriate.
What? Oh,
Do it anyway.
okay. Now you have to tell it. What is this?
It's not really that long either. I went to see Spring Breakers, and in the back row, one end there was 12-year-olds sneaking in, and the other end there were blowjobs. End story.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but everything I've heard makes it seem like that's entirely appropriate for that film. Like it's a macrocosm of that film. All right. I have no interesting stories other than the fact that there was a flasher on the subway, and I'm still emotionally damaged from it. But by the way, tip to everyone who visits New York: if there's a flasher on your subway, for the love of God, do what everyone else on the subway is doing and not pay attention to it. If you pay attention, they target you. So, air and survival tips. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
Let's move on.
No.
No? Okay,
keep
good.
going.
Yeah.
All right,
Don't-
fuck.
don't
Keep going.
stop for
Adrenaline.
nothing.
Get that adrenaline going. All right.
Yes.
What have you guys seen recently?
I watched a whole shit ton of South Park.
Oh? Yeah?
Yeah.
I watched all of Justice League Season 1 in about 2 days. Hey, that show's really good, y'all.
I'm almost right there with you. I almost did the exact same thing.
And that is the weakest season of that show, so you're in for a treat.
Wait, I thought you said you saw the entire series.
No, season.
Oh, the
one.
first season of
Season
it.
1.
Yeah, I really enjoy that show, but Matt is correct. It does get better as it goes.
The Legends
Awesome.
episode. I did not pick up all the subtle racism and sexism the first time.
That's
I was
pretty
like,
good.
Oh, he means it's because Jon Stewart's black. Oh, I thought he was just talking about being human.
Yeah, I've been watching that show too. Oh my god, I love that series so much. I said this back on our Batman episode, but that is my favorite interpretation of Batman that has been on television.
Yep.
Yeah, just because it's like they actually realize this guy has to be the most badass human alive to stand next to these other guys. I mean, they made him getting coffee badass on an episode.
Oh, that episode's so good.
That is. All right, who's next?
I watched the last season of Weeds, and god damn it,
I'm so sorry.
I don't know. I know. I should have
should
stopped.
catch- I should
I
catch
almost
up.
did.
Condolences.
It's not good. It ends
It's not
terribly.
good. No, yeah, it did what I hate when a series does for their last season, where they go into it like it's just any other normal season, and then at the end they just go, "Oh shit, time to wrap some stuff up," and they go into the future by 10 years, and it's terrible what they do in the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You make me want to watch this, because I liked Weeds, but because it was garbage.
Well, I liked Weeds too, but then those last couple of seasons are just god awful.
I stopped watching in season 5 or 6 when they were on the run from Mexico.
Wait, what? You know,
Okay.
Well, the whole country of Mexico was just hunting them down.
Basically.
Yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. It's like, oh no, we've been cooking marijuana out of this bedroom for too long. Mexico is coming.
Well, basically, they just kind of extend into every facet of the drug war, and eventually you can't talk about the drug war without talking about drugs coming over the border. So,
And then
They just-
they murder, the leader of what is it, Mexico City?
they-
Tijuana? Something
he's
like that?
No, it's
Yeah.
nothing that big, but it's it's somebody.
I think
it's
it was
like
Tijuana.
Wasn't he the,
It was
wasn't he the
Tijuana?
power behind the throne guy?
Yeah, it was Tijuana.
Yeah,
That's great.
but yeah,
That's
and they
so
killed
good.
him off screen too. It's almost like his agent just said, "I ain't coming back."
Yeah.
It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, all right, who's
Beautiful suck.
I've been watching a bunch of cult movies, so I guess I'll just get to them when we get to our thing.
next? Yeah, that'll be good to say for then.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go. I've started watching the Fast and Furious series in preparation for Fast and Furious 6, but I'm not trying to talk about...
I know. I know.
Yes. I'll get to the other thing I want to talk about quickly. But I watched The Fast and the Furious. I'm going to watch 2 Fast and Furious tomorrow night. But holy fuck, is The Fast and the Furious dumb? It's so dumb, and I love it. Like, it's so terrible, but I love it anyway because it's because Michelle Rodriguez can stand in there and go, "I smell skanks." They'll leave before I put tread marks on your face, and then I can just burst out laughing for about 30 seconds for no real reason.
Just hold on, because Too Fast is by far the worst.
By
I know
a
that.
country mile.
I know that.
No,
I know how this is like ranked in terms of things, but I'm still looking forward to going for more anyway. But I'd much rather talk about, because I finally saw The Raid, because that was on Netflix, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Well, because
Wait, everybody hates that movie?
I
It's
don't.
just me and
Mike's-
Maz something like
Maz is the only one who likes it. I think it's
No, I like it too.
yeah,
All right.
I don't hate it. I just think it's good. I think it's good. It really should have been better.
Should have been a horror
I find.
movie.
Yeah, like that first half is great because it has to, like, provide tension.
That bit with the knife in the bathroom.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, brilliant.
So
and
good.
also, I'm at reveal when they're about to breach a door, and it just like pans to show all those people above, just waiting for a signal, like for some signal of those people to start shooting them. Like that sort of thing is sort of it can do. But then in the second half, it kind of it starts to believe that its non-plot is interesting, but its undeveloped characters are interesting. Its fight scenes become less good the less people that are involved. Like it has one good fight scene, and that's the last one. And also the camera work is atrocious. It's handled like it's a drug addict a hyperactive drug addict who's going cold turkey. Like the way it just shakes around all the time, never seems to stay the fuck still. But the one truly great thing I really enjoy about the whole movie is the soundtrack, which kind of just proved that hey, Mike Shinoda's the best thing about Linkin Park.
Wait a minute, I just realized something. You were talking about how much you like the soundtrack to this movie and saying it was the only good thing before this episode. I mean, you were giving an opinion about the movie before you saw it.
Maybe I listened to the soundtrack before having actually been able to see the movie out.
Then how do you know it was the only good thing about it? A quote you said before.
I was stealing
Stop
opinions from you lot. Shut up.
fighting!
Objection!
He was predicting the future. He could foresee the future, so...
Angel Columbia came down.
It's like Minority Report.
This makes me really disappointed because I was about to watch Ace Attorney, the movie, subtitled, and then I turned out that copyright had removed the audio from YouTube. So now I can't find that movie legally or illegally. I just need it. I want to see it now.
You need to go to Japan, buy it.
I'll hook you up, Jackson. We'll talk after.
The Raid, it was good. It just wasn't, great.
I think the Raid would have.
It really should have been better.
The Raid would have been better as like a web series, just like on YouTube. Just have like a 10-minute chunk, get one fight scene, have another episode, get a fight scene. So like, there's so many fight scenes in that movie that you could easily cut it up and make it a YouTube series and have like one good fight each episode.
And then it would just be
and a lot of them
Mortal
aren't
Kombat.
great.
That Mortal Kombat series, which is that.
I cannot wait for the Mortal
Right?
Kombat web series to come back.
He's coming back? I didn't know.
Aren't they trying to turn that into a movie?
Yeah, they are,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, because I know Kevin Tankerin, who did the web series, is going to be doing the movie.
Who else is left? Is it Mike and Kevin?
Yeah,
I
Kevin,
haven't
go.
gone yet, but-
Come on, Kevin.
I did
Go.
a double header of Studio Ghibli, and I watched The Cat Returns and Whisper of the Heart.
Oh, I love Whisper of the Heart.
Those are two great underrated Ghibli movies.
Yeah, like most of outside of like Miyazaki films, I don't know. It seems like the Ghibli movies don't get as much praise as they deserve. And Cat Returns is just like really lighthearted, just a lot of fun and really charming. And Whisper to the Heart's just like it's really low key, but it's also equally as charming and just it's a little bit more thoughtful than The Cat Returns. But The Cat Returns is much more of like much more of an adventure, and it feels a bit different because Cat Returns deals with like a teenager, and if like high schooler specifically, and it just feels a bit different with the main character.
I've always compared Cat Returns to Ghibli's Labyrinth, and I stand by that.
Yeah, I could see that. Just fun movies.
Man, I need to watch more Ghibli.
Yes, you
Everybody needs
do.
to watch more Ghibli, yeah. Alright, Mike, what you got? Oh, did you already go?
I went. Maz, you went?
Yeah.
Who didn't go? I guess I didn't go, but
You didn't go,
I
what?
didn't really see anything. I mean, the last movie I saw was Great Mouse Detective, but that's because I haven't seen it in a while and I wanted to watch it again. So
Great Mouse Detective is good. I hadn't seen it until you showed it to me. That's a good film. Let's see. I, like Maz, have been watching tons of the Cartoon Network stuff that they put up on Netflix recently, and I decided to check out that new Scooby-Doo series that they decided to make.
And kill.
It's pretty good. What?
It's already
Make and kill.
it's already over.
Yeah, but after like 51 episodes, that's... I'm sorry. Did it last longer than Green Lantern? Then I feel
yeah, I
no
was about to
sympathy
say.
for it. Oh, I'm sorry. Did they get to have stories with arcs to them? Well, then fuck that show. But anyway, yeah, that's... You know, I've never been the biggest Scooby-Doo fan. Even when I was a kid, I was like, whatever. But it's a pretty good show.
it's like really the only Scooby-Doo cartoon I ever liked was a pup named Scooby-Doo. But that's because I was in the age demographic, so I was.
So was I, yeah. That was good. I liked it.
It's so cute.
It was cute. I still to this day want to see like Fred accuse Red Herring of a crime. Yeah.
Best Scooby-Doo is the episode of Harvey Birdman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was great that they finally did an episode dedicated to that joke.
It's like, well, do the Scooby-Doo like crossovers count? Because I love the Johnny Bravo episode where he came across him.
That's also a great one.
Yes.
My glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses. I could just quote Cartoon Network shows for the rest of this show, but I won't because we got shit to do. Kevin, what's our news?
It's quicker than we've ever done it.
Yeah, I'm focused this time, asshole, so stop slowing us down. Kevin, what's the news? News! Nice.
Well, we'll continue talking about the Fast and the Furious because Justin Lin is not directing Fast 7, or whatever it's called.
That's not... Oh.
Oh, I thought he was. All right.
No, he's out. They have published a list of 3 potential directors. It's a terrible list. It makes me so sad.
It's the guy. One of them's the guy who's doing Kick-Ass 2 and did Never Back Down. There's the guy who did The Lincoln Lawyer, and then there's what was the third one? Because the third one's responsible for some complete crap, if I remember.
Was Harold Zvart, or however you say it? He directed One Night at McCool's and Agent Cody Banks.
The Lincoln Lawyer is an okay movie. I'd be alright with that guy.
Not to mention it's a movie entirely about cars driving around.
I don't know. As soon as I saw Agent Cody Banks, that might be the direction this film needs.
What about
I was about to say, are you guys
Frankie
really
Muniz
saying
back.
that you think the director might be too childish to take on the Fast and Furious franchise?
No, well, Justin Lin does not get enough credit. Well, he does get some credit for being super smart directing those films. He nailed that formula to a T. He knew what he was doing.
what if the guy who did Retaliation did this one?
That could
John
work.
Chu.
That could work. He could bring the step up Creed to Fast and the
He could
Furious.
Step up.
could bring Channing Tatum to Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Man.
Channing
Oh, my
Tatum
yes.
would look at that script and burn it.
Cars dance.
That dude is trying to create an actual career at this point.
Have they said who's writing the next Fast and Furious film? Because they've had the same writer for a while.
Well, the movie's already written because they were going to film them back to back, but Justin Lin did not want to do that. Probably because
If they want it out for next year.
yeah, and probably Justin Lin's probably exhausted at this point. Like making movies
That's
is
4
tiring.
in a row.
Maybe he'll finally.
Plus, I think it's always a good sign when your big budget action movie that hasn't started, actual production yet is due in cinemas in a year's time. I think that's asking a bit much of some people.
Maybe he'll finally go make Neuromancer.
Never heard of it.
Neuro-
Kevin, what's next?
Matthew McConaughey has been cast in Christopher Nolan's next movie called Interstellar. And
All right.
And as a big original fan of Matthew McConaughey, not like those people who just started saying, "Hey, Matthew McConaughey's back" with Bernie and Magic Mike, I think this is great news.
And Killer Joe.
And Lincoln Lawyer. Was he in Lincoln
Yes, he
Lawyer?
was.
Yes.
He was great in that movie too, and he was great in Sahara. Screw you. Screw you.
I've got.
Contact. Let's go back to Contact.
Let's go back to Angels in the Outfield.
Let's go forward to the future to talk about this movie.
I had a weird dissonance flashback there with like, hold on, Christopher Nolan and the Daft Punk movie, what? And then,
but yeah, what's this new movie supposed to be about?
It's pure science fiction, sort of like it's spaceship approaching like a black hole. And considering Christopher Nolan is heavily influenced by Stanley Kubrick, this could be really interesting. And of course, the original script was written by Jonathan Nolan, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm silently nodding my head in like an approving fashion. Like this could work, yeah.
I still have not disliked any Christopher Nolan films, so I mean, I'm looking forward to anything that he does. I'm not like one of those huge fans that so many of his other followers are, but you know, I do really enjoy his stuff, and I would love to see him take on something like this.
If it's like Memento in space, I'm all on board.
That sounds great.
You mean somebody just keeps constantly looking out the window and going, holy shit, what is that? Then walking away and coming back and going, holy shit, what is that?
Yep.
It can't be worse
We're
than those
getting
last
closer
two
to-
movies.
you don't like Inception?
You don't like Inception?
I think Inception's woefully overrated.
Bomb!
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly.
He has been on a trend, you know. But
Alright, so what's our next piece?
The late night war is over. Jimmy Fallon is taking over The Tonight Show.
Does anyone
And
care?
Seth-
3 months.
no.
Well, I guess...
Well, now, I care about seeing, like, Conan's reaction to this, but, I mean, it's... Really, this was far less interesting than the last time that this guy at war went on, and, you know, Jay Leno should have gone away a long time ago, before he even got The Tonight Show, but... Jimmy Fallon, how's everybody think he's going to do? Because I've seen his current show, and, you know, his current show, what he wants to do is he wants to create, like, a fun atmosphere for the people in the crowd, which is great for the people in the crowd, not so much for the people watching it. And also, I was hearing him in an interview, and he actually said that he doesn't really like attack humor. He doesn't like humor that makes people feel down or really has, like, a victim to it. He wants humor that lifts up everyone. And I was like, you know what? That's admirable. It's also unwatchable. So
I think... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, so I give the guy a lot of credit. I think the guy does work hard, but I'm not the biggest fan. So I'm wondering if anybody thinks he's going to stick to what he's done before when he goes to the Tonight Show, or change it around.
Well, with that kind of attitude, I think he's better off doing a morning show.
Honestly?
I think that The Tonight Show is for people who don't watch The Daily Show, for an older audience that wants something relaxing to fall asleep to, and I think he'll do a great job with it.
That's very true. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think Conan had such a hard time at that hour. Because, yeah, it's
He's high energy.
The old audience doesn't get him.
And he's also, like, high energy as well.
That's true, yeah. And that's one of the reasons the old audience doesn't get him, yeah.
And Seth Meyers is taking over Jimmy Fallon's old spot.
Oh, that part I didn't know. That I'm far more interested in.
So I wonder, like, will Seth Meyers... Is he still on SNL?
I believe last time I saw, which was sometime this season, he was.
So will he just be continuing to do that show, or will he just do, like, Weekend Report? Because is that all he does now on SNL?
He's like their head writer, I believe, right now.
Oh.
So that means there's going to be another big shift going on Saturday night. So, and typically whenever the head writer leaves, a couple other people leave around the same time. So, you know, who knows what this means about the future of Saturday Night Live. But I do think that he has what it takes to host that slot.
Yeah, I guess I don't really care about SNL, so...
Yeah, I mean, I tune in, like, every now and again and see an episode and go, like, alright, whatever. But I mostly just watch, like, the one good clip that everybody raves about each week. Because that's typically, to me, how Saturday Night Live has almost always been. Like, for 80% of its runtime, it's always been, wow, last night there was this one great bit, and everything else was crap. But whenever people think back to Saturday Night Live, they take all those one bits, forget all the crap ones, and just compile the one bits into whole shows.
Yeah,
and I think it's always been great.
That's how they bring out, like, the best of Will Ferrell and all that stuff on DVD.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Nostalgia.
I watch, like, half a clip of SNL just because they're way too long.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest issue, is that their stuff just goes on forever.
Yeah, exactly. They have to, they can't, do, 2 real short things at a time. They have to, squeeze an entire one. But, yeah. Anyway, Seth Meyers taking over that slot. I look forward to that. Jimmy Fallon, it does not change whether or not I will be watching The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
My entire exposure to Jimmy Fallon, because I'm British, are those history of rap things he does with Justin Timberlake. So, that's a thing.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, what's our next piece of news?
They renamed the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show to something even worse. It's now called...
Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Why?
Why is that worse?
Because it has Marvel in the title, and they should really stop doing
No,
it.
it's
Marvel's
because,
going to be a little tiny thing at the top, and let's be honest, as soon as the show airs, no one's going to refer to it.
Oh,
Marvel's going to be
straight up.
tiny in the top, and whenever people go, hey, did you see Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last night? They're going to say, hey, did you say S.H.I.E.L.D. last night?
I don't, it's something
doesn't
annoying
change
about
anything.
it, because in England they called Avengers Marvel Avengers Assemble. Which is
They
what
called
came
it
up.
Marvel's The Avengers here in America.
Did they? Oh,
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah.
And guess what? Nobody is going around saying, hey, did you see
No, I
Marvel's The
know,
Avengers?
but
It doesn't change shit, man.
it doesn't change shit. But it's like, come on, guys, come on.
Well, I think it's like taking the
Be
opposite
a little less
approach.
egotistical.
It's taking the opposite approach of what Hollywood has been doing, like making titles shorter. Like, this is just
Yeah.
like expanding
true.
and making it longer, and I think S.H.I.E.L.D. should just be called S.H.I.E.L.D. and not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So
can't
like,
just
is
have
this
your
gonna be
perfect
like the
name
new
there
thing? Is this gonna be like the new thing? Like all the movies are gonna be just like one word, and like all the TV shows are just gonna be like this really long title or something?
No, I just saw Tyler Perry's Temptations, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor. The movie titles are not getting shorter.
Oh, that's Tyler Perry. I don't think he counts.
My favorite is still The Assassination
Anyway, no-
of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Coward.
That is such a great title.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't really think that this is any kind of a trend going on at the moment. And if it is, it's not going to last long. I mean, trends in entertainment never really last that long.
I think the difference is that S.H.I.E.L.D. sounds like a TV show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sounds like a comic book. It plays more into the comic book
Maybe
thing.
that's what they're going for.
No, I know.
I don't know. To me, S.H.I.E.L.D. sounds like a movie, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sounds like a TV show.
Well, they already had the TV show The Shield, so
Yeah, once again,
Oh,
another
there we
reason.
go.
Yeah.
The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sounds like an episode title.
Yes.
Like a sort of pilot.
Sounds like a pilot title.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's
This
your
is
next
great.
piece?
That's
This is the last news piece, and this is the, I don't know, depressing news story, is that Roger Ebert passed away last Thursday at the age of 70.
Yeah, and I already said my piece on that in the last episode. But what do you get? I mean, we're all touched by that.
yeah.
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 Yeah, there are four people who who it inspired me to take criticism of any form as a job title, and Ebert was the first. I do remember when I was in year 6 or something, just wasting hours scouring the Apple Movies archives for pretty much any review that he done of that, and just watching it. He just had a way of being able to keep me interested, which is in things that at the time I really shouldn't have been as invested in all honesty.
And
Yeah,
he
that
was...
was-
When you're
I'll go ahead. That was ultimately the thing that I think Ebert did best. Was he was not always the smartest person in the room, but he was always the one who could make his opinions relatable.
Yeah, he was very good at making his opinions relatable, and I think a lot of that has to do with this is a guy who actually made a movie before. He knows the work, and he didn't sound like some judgmental guy saying on the outside. He sounded like a guy who understood multiple ends of things.
And he was incredibly influential because, before he was on television, before, internet, before, anybody had, purchasing advice for what to go see for a movie outside their newspaper, tune in to
Who
watch
was
Ebert.
the big critic out there before Roger Ebert?
And he was like Callum just said, people in Britain who grew up after they'd been stopped doing television reviews still were influenced by him. That's how much of an impact he had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quick
exactly.
plug for his Scorsese book. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
The best book on Scorsese.
I was going to say, I was reading one of the obits in one of the Chicago newspapers, and I think that Scorsese is still... They were in the middle of doing a documentary on Ebert, and I think he's still doing it. I don't know when it's going to be done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That could be interesting.
I
'cause
think it
guess
will
they
be
were pretty
very
good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, however it turns out, it'll be interesting. So.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there's a
Roger
really great old episode of At the Movies with Martin Scorsese and Roger Ebert talking about like the best movies of the '90s. I'm not sure if that's on YouTube or anywhere like that, but
It's got to be a lot of those. A lot of
And
clips from
don't
that
forget, and don't forget the Siskel and Ebert episode of The Critic.
Right.
I was wondering about bringing that up, but yeah, I love that episode. Anybody else have any other fond memories of Roger Ebert? This is gonna sound like a weird one, but my favorite is when they were talking about the Twilight Zone movie, and they were talking about Steven Spielberg's second thing he ever directed for film, which was the little kick the can segment on that. And they said, "Yeah, he's an upcoming director, and this is easily the weakest part of it." So we'll see about that, because I always love thinking about that, because it just goes to show that Roger Ebert, this really great, big, influential, very intelligent guy, you can never know about a director.
To be fair, that segment is saccharine to the extreme, and I understand why he would not like it.
Oh, I totally agree with him. He's absolutely right about that. But I always like looking back but the thing is that Roger Ebert to this day will admit, oh yeah, he totally turned around and became a great director after that. But yeah, exactly.
I loved his Twitter account.
I feel like that's how everyone knows him anymore.
Oh yeah, that guy, as soon as he lost the ability to speak, he still was just writing like crazy. I mean, it did not slow him down.
He did a record number of movies last year, reviewing, if I remember.
I think so, yeah. Was it last year or the year before that?
It was last year.
It was last year.
and his TED Talk is really inspiring as well.
But yeah, so Roger Ebert, rest in peace, meant a lot to all of us. There was one
I ended
other...
up being legit bummed for the rest of the evening. When I got that news, I just remember being legit bummed out the second I got that news for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, it's weird. I find out when anybody dies now through Twitter. Like, I never find out through any other means. That's how I always find out.
Same here.
Yeah, that's an odd statement about the age we live in, but there's one other news story, and it might get us in a slightly better mood going into the next segment, but they announced the next Pixar film title, which we all knew was going to be the Finding Nemo sequel. Yeah, it's Finding Dory.
No.
So,
In all fairness, we kept saying, like, we put money down that, okay, it's going to be Finding the Dad on this one. We were wrong. We have to admit that.
in a way, it makes
I'm waiting
sense.
for it to have
In a way, it makes sense since Dory does have short-term memory loss, so I guess it would be easy for her to get lost.
Yeah, which means that they'll have some kind of an origin story to Dory, and it'll be sad and everything, but...
Did they say it was a prequel? Because I'm thinking it might be like a spiritual thing where she might find herself.
Or she found Marlin while he was trying to find Nemo, and that's...
Thank you for remembering the dad's name. Like at the end of it is where she meets up with him?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I actually think that'd be a cute idea, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, it's with this movie. I officially say I don't want The Incredibles 2. Like, I'm officially just saying I no longer want that.
The only way Incredibles 2 works is if Brad Bird does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they could get an unknown. I'm always willing to listen to an unknown director come in, because you never know when you're going to find that next big success. But to me, I no longer want any sequels, prequels, or anything to any Pixar film, because it's just been it's stacked up too high. Like, the ratio of sequels or prequels to new stuff they're putting out, it's way too high.
Get ready to be really sad.
Yeah, enjoy
gonna
Toy
say-
Story 4 coming 2016. Come on.
Well, no, they have new stuff coming out from like Pete Docter and the original Pixar people. They have new stuff coming.
Right, but we got Brave last year, and that wasn't really all that great. So
Yeah,
just because
that's
it's
what's
original doesn't
worrying
mean it's going to
me.
be good.
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
we
like,
say.
if Brave came out, and, I would be far kinder to Brave if it weren't for the fact, if, it had an original movie in front of it and an original movie behind it. But the fact that that's, the one original movie we're getting from Pixar in a sea of sequels and prequels, that's bad news, man.
Yeah, it's officially now at the point where I am kind of dreading any news and that comes from Pixar. I'll still go see their movies because, they're never I think with the exception of Cars 2, they're never bad. But, I mean, it's getting to a point now where I'm really starting to get sick. And again, if they do announce a new trilogy of Toy Story movies tomorrow, I would not be in the least bit surprised.
They're making a movie about a dinosaur. I don't care. I'm excited.
We're saying...
We have that dinosaur movie. It was Disney's Dinosaur.
We're saying...
No one cares about that movie, Callum. That movie came out more than a decade ago.
Let's all go watch the original Land Before Time, because nothing will ever top that one.
Yeah.
No,
let's
I don't
watch
want
the
to cry.
Disney Dinosaurs TV show, because nothing will ever... Yeah, I'll get obscure, motherfuckers. All right,
What
sorry.
about planes set the same universe as cars?
What about...
Come on.
What about
That's
Fuck
not a
You?
Pixar film.
Pixar Canada.
Okay.
I was about to say, it's not a Pixar film in the way that, like, someone putting on a fake mustache to go and buy pornography at a drugstore is not that actual person.
To be even more cynical, failed miserably. Cut that segment out.
You couldn't be more cynical, Maz.
No.
Well, you're saying, like, original as in not a sequel, but the problem with Pixar things is Pixar films have been following a formula for a long time now, and it's getting stale. They came in and shook up the industry doing something new, and now they are something that needs to be, shook up. And whether they're going to shake themselves up or someone else's, I don't know, but they're going down a weird path.
If Dory finds the City of Rapture, it'll be amazing.
That would be pretty great.
No, she'll find the lost city of Atlantis.
Oh, God.
Rapture's
It's sort
better.
of like a stealth prequel to Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
She's the reason they're lost.
I can get behind that.
Everybody's lost.
Oh, so just have, like, one quick scene where she, like, ends up causing Atlantis to fall into the sea?
It's like she accidentally, like, plucks a stone and it causes, like, all the buildings to crumble into the ocean. She's like, oops.
She just swims past an abandoned city and you see, like, Milo's skeleton floating in the ocean.
Gee.
I'm not as big a fan of that movie as most other people. I'm sorry. Anyway.
The nicest thing I can say about this news is I'm glad everybody involved is getting the work.
I guess.
Albert Brooks works and Ellen DeGeneres has a show. It's... Unless Brad Garrett returns to play the puffer fish, no one
Like
here
Andrew
is starting
Stanton's
for
back
work.
to direct, if I remember. Like, I remember Andrew Stanton's back to direct, so...
Well, John Carter didn't work out for him, so...
Exactly.
as much as
Story
you
of Mars. I got it. Anyway. Alright, anyway, holy crap, we did it. 34 minutes. Probably going to be even shorter after I edit it down. So, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to be back to talk about cult films.
This is too short. We've done this wrong.
Oh, do you want me to add
you're
something?
Right.
Do you want me...
Oh, you're right. We should take 5 more seconds for me to call you a fucking moron for throwing that in here, Jackson.
We don't even know if there's a way back except for
Gotta go
that broken
right now.
bridge.
I'll find a road where I'll flag down a van.
Just listen to me.
No, I
Linda
won't.
can't walk,
It's time to go.
cannot hike, can't even stand. Then we'll leave her.
That's our brand new plan.
What the fuck was that?
Now I'll put an end to this vacation.
What the fuck was that? Scott, don't leave me all alone.
Necronomicon, the book of the dead.
The chant, the chant.
I'm gone. What the fuck was that? It's the Evil Dead.
You know, this show is actually kind of like a cult. There's tons of verbal abuse, and I go hours without any nutrition. So, welcome back to the Pupcast. And today, in honor of Evil Dead coming out last weekend, Evil Dead is one of the biggest cult classic films to have ever been made. So, or at least one of the most well-known ones, and we are going to talk about some of our favorite cult classic films today. Anybody want to start by just giving us a definition of cult classic films? Because I have one, but Jackson always laughs at my definitions. So does anyone have a better one?
Jackson, you go ahead.
I don't have a better one. I don't... Matt has a good one, yeah.
If anybody has a good one, it's Matt.
Oh, it was totally
I wanna hear your
arbitrary.
definition.
I wouldn't, because I feel like it invalidates every popular cult movie. But as I was saying before we started recording, if you can go up to 100 random people on the street and more than 5 people have seen it, it's not cult.
That's fair. To me, a cult classic film is a film that hasn't been seen by many people, but the people who have seen it have such a passion for it that they almost like develop their own little community of like their own little brotherhood amongst themselves.
So we're going off fanfic.net entries then.
Yes, that is the perfect way to describe this.
What?
Harry Potter is the cultiest movie ever made.
Glee is the cultiest TV show ever made.
Put it this way:
What are you talking about?
Anyone under 40 should not claim that Rocky Horror Picture Show is a cult film anymore.
It still deserves being mentioned, though, on our show today because it was, for the longest time, a cult classic film.
Well, the meaning of cult has kind of been destroyed by the internet.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Completely.
any modern movie that comes out and doesn't make any money is now a cult movie for some reason.
John Carter of Mars, cult film.
But yeah, let's start off with, let's talk a little bit about the history of the cult films because I think that Matt pointed out something very well, which is that a movie can be a cult classic for a long time and then go on to be, to be actual pop culture. Popular in our culture. And, there's tons of examples of that. Rocky Horror Picture Show being one. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But originally, The Wizard of Oz did not do well, and it just survived for decades, really, just because of a cult following that it had. Same can be said for, I'm blanking on it, but the Jimmy Stewart wants to kill himself, Angel tells him not to.
Oh,
It's a Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life, yeah, that also did very well and was did very poorly and was poorly received by critics. But it had a cult following, and it wasn't until all of a sudden it became like a Christmas classic that's shown every year that suddenly it was well known to everyone.
What about A Christmas Story? Was that ever a cult film?
I would say it's a cult film.
I
don't know.
It's got a weird fan base.
Yeah.
It's just a bad movie.
That too.
It's got a weird fan base because there are people out there who will watch every showing of it every year, but having a weird fan base does not make you a cult film. Twilight has a weird cult base. It's not a cult film.
Oh god, I wish it was.
I'd rather watch
Sorry,
Twilight than A Christmas Story, so...
I was going to say,
That's gonna be like the new tradition. Like every Christmas, there's gonna be a marathon of the Twilight movies, 24/7.
Do any little children cry in Twilight? No, then I'd rather watch it than A Christmas Story. But that's just me. I've said this numerous times. I can't watch movies where little kids cry, even if it's a fake crying. But anyway, yeah. Anybody else have any other old cult films that they want to bring up?
Matt,
Night of the Living Dead.
Really, that wasn't really. You're right. That was one of those films that when it came out, everybody was just kind of like, "Oh fuck, no, I don't want." But it was for a reason that was just so jarring and so shocking to people
Also
that they just did not want any part of it.
Also notable that it's one of the major independent films of that era as well.
Very true. Yeah, let's see. And speaking of films from around that era, I would go with Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's a cult film for a totally different reason, though. It's a cult film for the same way that Troll 2 is a cult film. It's just so terrible that everybody loves, everybody just loves seeing it. Speaking of which, a very interesting look at the mindset of the cult film community. Speaking of Troll 2, has anybody ever seen the documentary Best Worst Movie?
No.
No, really?
it's on my list, but no.
Really, it's a very fascinating look because they take all these people who started in this awful movie, Troll 2, and they take all of them and look at them in their everyday lives and then basically kind of tell them, remember that shitty film that you were in? There's actually a giant community of people who love it like crazy and like have special meetings and like rent out theaters to show it. And they like take one of these guys who was like the star of it and is a dentist now and like just loves his life and very nice guy, and just suddenly like throws him into this world where he's a huge star among these culty freaky nerds, and he's like, I'm a god now. Like he has this huge ego rush, and it's great watching him just go deeper and deeper into it until slowly he realizes, oh, these people are just kind of like I know they like it in a campy, it's so bad it's funny kind of way, but I don't want to be their star. Like it's him just kind of like going deep into the mindset of these people and then slowly realizing he's not a big star to everyone else because that's what cult films are. They only appeal to that niche market, that small group of people, and then eventually just decides, I'd rather be happy in my regular life, and leaves it to go back into being a dentist. Yeah,
Dentists with god complexes are the worst.
We saw Marathon Man, yeah. But yeah, all right. What about some more recent ones? Anybody have any more from the more current decades?
Does The Room count?
The Room?
Yeah, The Room.
In a weird way, kind of in the same way that Troll 2 counts.
Yeah, it's like the more you described how the Troll 2 is like an occult movie, I was like, that's kind of the same reason why The Room is a
because that is
movie,
another one of those movies where people just have like big meetings where they get together and like quote along to how horrible it is.
Napoleon.
Anybody else?
Shaun of the Dead.
Office Space.
Shaun of the Dead is not a cult film.
I wouldn't call Office Space a cult film either.
Yeah, that was a cult film. That was actually a cult film for a little while. But then as soon as like Comedy Central started showing it, that's when everybody found out about it.
kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, before Hot Topic screwed it over.
According to Wikipedia, Anchorman is a cult film, so let's not trust
According to Wikipedia, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a cult film.
Well, now that's there's another definition of cult films, which is just that it has a very specific audience that worships it, pretty much. And Anchorman, even though it does have a wide appeal, it would actually fit into that definition because I like Anchorman. I think it's a fun film, but I mean, the fans of that thing, holy crap! There are people out there who can quote that line for line and think it's the greatest comedy of all time.
Also on this list goes Wet Hot American Summer.
I would totally say that's a cult film. Because nobody outside probably us in this room know it. I mean, according to your own definition, let's be honest, you go up to 100 people and ask them about that movie, you might get 2 who know it.
Here's a good modern one. MacGruber. Yeah. MacGruber's a great cult film.
Yeah.
Terrible cult film, Napoleon Dynamite.
Agreed.
Oh god.
It sucks.
Yeah,
and
that movie sucks.
I don't think it's all that bad, but it's not for me in any way, shape, or form. Like I said,
it's just anti-humor, the movie, and I don't particularly enjoy anti-humor.
I don't enjoy it myself, but there was a time before Napoleon Dynamite when no one was really doing it that much in our current generation of films. So I can totally understand the people who do enjoy that kind of humor kind of latching onto that. But yeah, after that, like that just kind of became the thing that everybody was doing. I think that film suffers a lot more from that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's not my type of humor, so I don't enjoy it myself. But yeah, let's go with what about, before we get into the really recent stuff, what about John Waters films? I mean, when I think of cult classics, that is the guy I think of.
I would agree with that. I haven't seen very many. But
I haven't seen very many either, and I was kind of rooting for you to come on and explain them. Shit.
Sorry.
Oh, my plans are foiled.
What about Ralph Bakshi?
Like what?
Ralph Bakshi?
I thought you said Love Actually.
No.
Okay, sorry.
You know, the guy who did Fritz the Cat and and
oh shit, yeah, those are cult classic films. Yeah, I knew you'd throw out a good animated one. But yeah.
Is Cool World a cult movie?
I don't know. I just felt like they were I felt like they were trying to cash in on the Roger Rabbit fame but aiming it at more an adult audience.
Oh yeah, it was basically like, what if we did Roger Rabbit, but his wife got naked? Dollar signs. All right. But yeah, speaking of good, weird 80s animated films, I always loved Rock and Roll, which is a great cult film, I say.
I enjoy it too.
Yeah, it's the first animated film to come out of Canada, by the way.
There's actually a lot of 80s indie non-Disney kind of movies are tricky.
The 80s was a great time for animated people who, in the 70s, a lot of animators were taking drugs and they were able to function. The 80s was when everybody was coming down from those drugs and still had the weird flashbacks, but now they were getting into heavy metal. And they were making stuff based on that.
I wanted to put out Heavy Metal itself, which
is
great, ridiculous animated thing.
Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice, yeah, that's another
Fire and Ice, that's on my watch list, and I want to see it so bad. But yeah, another great example. Let's see, but yeah, John Waters films, goddamn, I wish we could have talked about more, but for a long time, I keep wanting to say Footloose, but that's not it. Hairspray. For a long time, Hairspray was a cult film until it became, once again, just everybody embraced it.
When it went to Broadway.
It was before that it became embraced, I'd say.
And that is his only film that is digestible by normal human beings, by all accounts.
Absolutely. Don't say digestible in John Waters films. That
was intentional.
Matt got the joke. All right.
The Princess Bride is my, like, I love that movie, and it is so cult film.
I'd say so, because that, once again, that fits that qualification of it is, even though it's fairly well known, it has a super strong following with a niche group of people.
It's like The Princess Bride. It's like it's one of those movies where if you watch it, you enjoy it. It's like I honestly have not met someone who saw a Princess Bride and did not like it.
Yeah, which once again, that's something that I've said that we said at the beginning about cult films. It's that even if a film hasn't been seen by many people, the people who have seen it just absolutely love it. Does anybody have any fond memories of cult films? Of like just finding them, because that's something that to me that always qualified cult films is just kind of how you stumble across it.
Finding early Kevin Smith stuff.
I'd say yeah. Because, yeah.
Like, before he got famous, he was awesome.
He was, and he was, I mean...
And then he got famous.
Yeah, I don't want to do the whole hipster, oh, he was cool before anyone knew about him, but with Kevin Smith, it is kind of true before his ego got too big. He was cool, and back then, I mean, Clerks was one of those films that you just heard about from other people. To me, my favorite memory of it is... To me, this is really what cult films kind of boil down to. Is that your friend came up to you and said, hey man, you haven't seen this thing? Well, check this out. And I remember I had a buddy when I was a kid who found out that I hadn't seen the Evil Dead films. And he said, well, you're going to have to watch all of them. Like, basically invited himself over for the night and, like, got the 3 VHS tapes from the local video store. And, I mean, just thinking about that, like, I know it's a weird thing to say, but when I think back to the VHS tapes he brought over, they seem like 3 times larger than normal VHS tapes. Like, just in my memory, like, they seem so massive. Because they were so important to structuring my film development after that. And we watched them, and I was just blown away. Like, I wasn't even a fan of horror films back then. Like, I just did not like horror films at all. And I just was so blown away by each of these. And the weirdest part about it is that years later, when the DVDs came out, and I bought the DVDs, and I was watching them, and I listened to the audio commentary, they were saying, yeah, we had a scene in here where we did this, but we cut it out because we didn't want to put that in. And then I thought back to it, and thought back to years ago, and I went, wait a minute. The VHS tape that he brought over had the deleted scenes they're talking about. The scenes that they say weren't even in the actual movie. And, like, I went back to that VHS place to see if I could buy those tapes, and it was closed down. And so that's going to be my memory of what cult films are to me. Anybody else have any other memories of, like, just stumbling across, like, really great finds with cult classics?
I wouldn't call it a cult classic, but in college there was a local video store that was they had movies that were so out of print that you had to put deposits to rent them. And,
wow!
This was right before a bunch of them got reprinted, but they had a lot of things from Asia that were fairly rare, and so I got my first taste of most of Takashi Miike's most important films there, and that was a ridiculous fall of bad. They're all bad. Bad Japanese cinema.
Alright. Well, it's time that we start talking about some of the bigger cult classic films out there, and we have to start with Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, you know, Matt, you mentioned that So Well Known Now is not really a cult classic film, but it was like the staple of what people thought cult classic films were for the longest time. I really have only seen Rocky Horror Picture Show when I was a little kid, and I had a friend who, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm pretty sure he probably murdered a woman at this point. But he was a disturbed individual, and he loved Rocky Horror Picture Show, and like he like made me, like 10-year-old Aaron, watch it, and was going, okay, now these parts we're supposed to yell this at the screen, and we're supposed to throw stuff at the screen like at this, which it was weird that I knew that, but yeah. Anybody else's thoughts on Rocky Horror Picture Show? Because I'm not that qualified to talk about it since I haven't seen it in so long.
I think that that theater experience is something that everyone should have once and then never again.
I know
My
some
sister
people
just went to one of those.
Oh?
I was gonna say I know some people. Sorry, go, Matt.
No, go. I was just going to say the movie
yeah.
looks dumb.
Yeah, the most I've experienced to it was a sweet transvestite in one of our media classes once, because our media teacher is a huge fan of Rocky Horror. And then the terrible, terrible Glee-focused episode on Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's
which,
unfortunate.
As soon as Glee makes an episode decade, you're no longer a cult film.
Yeah. But no, it is something I'm actually really interested in and want to watch. I know that there were some people in our media class who, inspired by having seen the Sweet Transvestite number in media, went off to one of those like midnight showings at cinema, because I think they just did another anniversary or something. And they went there, and apparently they said it was a fantastic time. So
Yeah,
I guess it'll have to be something I'll try before I die at some point. Then.
Yeah, it's like I only seen the movie, and I watched it by myself, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then when I realized that there's like midnight showings where you're supposed to like scream with the audience at the people on stage, and I'm like, you know something? I bet this movie would be a lot more fun if I went to the theaters, so and actually interacted with everybody. So yeah.
Jackson, isn't it hosted by like the guy? Doesn't the guy who hosts the Crystal Maze feature in it? I remember reading about that somewhere at some point or something.
You're asking the wrong person. I've never seen Rocky Horror.
Oh, okay then.
I have, however, seen the Crystal Maze.
And none of us are British, so we don't know what the Crystal Maze is.
Yeah,
so.
sorry, I tried to drag this into a British corner first.
It's a cult. It's a cult show.
Okay. Fair enough.
All I remember is the Drew Carey Show doing "Let's Do the Time Warp" again.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Outside of Rocky Horror showing, and I was like, they look dumb. That was a good song though.
That's just a song they get kids to dance to now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that from my childhood.
Oh yeah.
I go on holiday. Everyone dances to Time Warp. Okay, this song's weird.
Rocky Horror's a good
the more
movie.
the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, holy shit! I keep expecting like Starbucks to like have the Rocky Horror themed cups or something when you go in. Jeez, I had not really like thought about how like bought out this franchise is. Yeah, it's just making me sad.
Yeah, when everyone's kids are dancing to it, shit ain't cult.
Yeah,
It's something that's kind of pierced its way into the mainstream.
It's
like,
so is,
forcibly.
I'm just like imagining like the quote from The Incredibles: "When everyone's seen that movie, it's nobody's a cult. It's no longer a cult.
it's no longer special. When everybody knows about it, nobody cares. All right. But yeah, any other really big cult films you want to talk about? Because I'm saving Evil Dead for the last, because I'm going to go off on that for, like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes.
I guess Scott Pilgrim would be a good one.
You know what?
hear
Yeah, that I would say
described
is a
too.
modern-day cult film.
Yes.
That's barely cult
yeah.
anymore. I think that
I-
another
I
5
agree.
years, it's going to be super mainstream.
Really? How many, like...
Fuck that movie.
No.
Wait, whoa.
Whoa,
Wait,
Step
I want to
back.
hear Mike first. I want to
Yeah,
hear Mike. Why
go,
fuck
go
that movie?
Mike. I'm interested.
I don't know. I think part of it is my strong dislike of Michael Cera, because my friend saw Scott Pilgrim in theaters, and he's like tried to get me to watch it for once. He's like, man, you gotta watch this. It's so great.
It is
And
a cult
I never
film,
read,
see?
Yeah, and I never read the comic, the manga. Just went in, watched it, with him and a group of our friends, and I just did not like it. Nothing of it, nothing appealed to me. It just seemed like so off the rails, so like shit didn't make. Not that it didn't make sense, but it just. I don't know. I could not. Nothing about it struck a chord with me at all, except extreme hatred, and so I never really.
Yeah, what was like my initial thing here would be to shout you're wrong and for Physical Vets to answer you. I do actually believe it is like for a very specific audience.
Well,
No,
Which is,
and
again, which is
that's
probably why it
fine.
failed.
I can
Yeah,
see
it's
what.
probably-
Yeah.
I can see. I was ready to hate it going in because what I'd heard about is Michael Cera is a total asshole. His character's a dick, and you won't like anyone. And you go in, and that's kind of true. But that's also the point. It comes from a long line
Yeah.
of films like High Fidelity, where the main character is the most despicable person, and you come out of it and just you get wrapped into the story. I still have problems with the ending of Scott Pilgrim, but I think overall it's pretty great. It's good fun and Wallace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
find
well,
it
that's
funny
what-
that you compare it to High Fidelity because I love High Fidelity. That's one of my favorite films ever. And yeah, Rob is a complete asshole. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I think, Yeah, Michael Cera, his character Scott Pilgrim is just such a detestable person. Like nothing that he does to me makes up for like all the horrible shit that he does to everybody else. I don't know. I think that's ultimately why I could not stand that film.
And I guess the movie itself carries that affectation with all the video game stuff. So if you don't like the personality, the fact that the personality is so exaggerated and in your face will just drive you away even more.
And a score of soundtrack names like Death to All Hipsters. I remember I remember sitting there first weekend to watch it because I was super excited for it, doing that. And then the second I went back to school, I was all over. All my friends were like, no, you need to see this movie. We all need to go see this movie together. And seeing as it had stopped playing our local cinema, I forced everybody out to the nearest other cinema, which was a seaside town about an hour's drive away. Forcibly dragged them all there to go watch Scott Pilgrim again, and it was in a full theatre, and everybody loved the living hell out of it. It's one of my favourite little
And that's why I say that this is a cult film, because you only get stories like that with cult films. No one ever had to drive an hour to see, a mainstream film, like a film that's beloved by everyone. And if you did, you probably hated it afterwards. But yeah, a film that you had to drive an hour to see because nobody else was showing it, and then you all said that was worth the drive. That's a cult film experience to me.
Although I sort of wonder, like, you say like a cult is something that that is basically known through like word of mouth, right? So what happens like when it gets too popular? Like it seems like that's sort of like the life cycle of a cult movie. Like it's not well known at first, but then like people keep talking about it, and like rumors spread, and like more the fan base starts to grow and it becomes popular. And I'm just
it's going to sound really weird and insensitive, but it's kind of like actual cults. When enough people know about it, it's no longer a cult, it's a religion. That's kind of how it is. I feel like Star Trek for the longest time was a cult TV show. Now it's a religion. People get married in Klingon. But yeah.
It's so dumb. That's so dumb.
But yeah, I do feel like Scott Pilgrim is a cult film, but I believe that it has a larger audience than most cult films, and I believe that has a lot to do with the internet. And I said I was going to say this to the end, but we've been like skipping around it for so long. Screw it. How do you guys feel like the internet is going to change cult films? Because now these days, somebody just captures a tiny little bit of what they love from a cult film, put it up on Tumblr. Everyone reblogs it, and then it's like, oh shit, what's this film? I need to see it. It's, it feels to me like either cult films today have a smaller cycle of being cult films, or two other options. They'll just either be forever a complete unknown, or they'll become, or we just have to accept that for cult films these days, the audiences that are true diehard fans are just going to be larger because more people are capable of hearing about.
I don't even think it's that they're larger, it's just that they're more connected. That's like you get to... The best example, it isn't a film, but I think the best example I can think of is in America, the TV show Sherlock. Like, that show came out, it was barely on American TV, but people pirated that show like crazy. And you look on Tumblr and it's just a bunch of people posting about it. And people get to have that shared experience, or which would have originally been like two people with word of mouth before.
You know what?
So I think that's a difference.
I think you're right about that, because I do believe that, when you put it like that, it makes it sound like it's almost like the same number of people know about it, but now these people are capable of talking about it. Like, before, if you walked into, like, say, a coffee house, and 5 people in there knew about this one really specific niche thing, none of them would be talking about it. They'd just be, because they wouldn't know each other, they'd just be sitting separately. Now, those same 5 people on the internet are going back and forth about how great something is, and it goes, oh wow, I guess everybody knows about this thing.
And I think that's ultimately a good thing, because we've gone past the age of like zines of cult movies or horror conventions where people are trading bootleg VHSs. Discoverability is high. If you know of a movie, you can find it on the internet.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. That is a very good thing. I mean, I will admit, as a guy who used to go to those conventions and find that, like, oh man, this is the hot shit right here. I do have a romantic nostalgia for that. When I saw that documentary, Shut Up, Little Man, like, about this, like, VHS tape that somebody just recorded. I'm sorry, it was an audio tape that somebody just recorded their crazy neighbors. and it became a cult thing that they just started sending around from people to people. I didn't get, like, nostalgic about it. I was like, man, I wish I could have lived in a time when I would just, like, hear about this one thing, and then I would have to go and hunt it down, like, 5 different record stores. But I would gladly trade that. I would trade that romance for being able to actually, you know, have other people know and celebrate the thing that I like, and being able to find the people who know about what I like, and being able to easily spread that to other people. I mentioned earlier that I don't really like that hipster saying of, oh, it was cool before it became popular. I want the stuff that I like to be popular. You know, I'm a big comic book geek. I spent my entire youth being hated on for reading comic books. So now the fact that we have thousands of people coming into a comic book store who before would never have done that, all because they love the movies and they actually want to find out about the characters, I love that. So, anybody else's final thoughts on the internet and cult films?
The internet will eventually ruin everything, and nothing can be cult.
It ruined us a long time
Because we're all
ago.
going to see a GIF.
It ruined cult film, but it meant that I could go on the internet. Matt could say, "Yo, you should watch Young Adult." I would go do that, and then it would be great. Whereas I may never have heard of that film without the internet properly. I would, it's just like, of course, it's going to make things better. We may look back in the past and treat that difficulty with nostalgia, which is fair enough. But the benefits totally outweigh whatever we lose.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
feel the same way too.
I mean, the nostalgia is solely just because of, like, an adventurous kind of, like, spirit that I think we all kind of have. But you can find adventure other places. You can go on vacation in the jungle and see some lions. Okay, people? You can find adventure in other places other than having to go into the crappy little record stand and check in the back room for something.
I also wanted to say there will always be more films, and I want to remind all of us cynical movie people that the movie that we think is super overplayed is still someone's first cult movie. And I think keeping that in perspective is really important.
Absolutely. Yep. Yes, absolutely. I never wanted to, like, give the idea that I'm cynical on this show, which thankfully everybody else here is more cynical than I am, so I don't ever think I have to worry about that.
None of us are. I don't think any of us are properly cynical. We're just really good at pretending to be. It's great.
I suppose Aaron's just cynical towards the rest of us.
No, Aaron, we're just destroying him. We're being. It's unfair what we do.
Yeah.
I have to point this out. We were having a discussion about how to make the Pupcast better, and Jackson started talking about, no, we should argue more, because that makes it interesting. I was like, wait a minute, you've been arguing on purpose, you asshole? You've been slowly destroying me on purpose?
Oh no, my evil plan to destroy Aaron.
Save it for group therapy, you two.
Kirsty is foiled again.
In a weird way, it made me even angrier at him, so he kind of still succeeded. Alright, before we go, let's just do a round robin, and we're going to go around to everybody, talk about what is your favorite cult film. Let's start with Maz.
The Princess Bride, because I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Cult or round robin?
Cult.
Okay. We just got done talking about how there's like 3 different definitions of it, man.
It's a quote from The Princess Bride.
I know.
Okay.
Overthinking.
I'm overthinking it. You're right. It took me a second to realize what he was saying. All right. I'm tired. Jackson.
Ooh, I have no idea. I don't really know what I like as cult, really. I guess, I don't know, Primer. I really like Primer. Primer's pretty good. That's more like the most cult thing I know.
I don't even know it. You're right. That's got to be cult.
You don't know Primer?
No, I don't, actually.
Aaron, you need to see Primer.
You need to see Primer. Primer is basically this really low-key time travel film about just 2 guys chatting. And then it goes crazy.
A time travel film written and directed by engineers, for the record.
Yes.
Oh, fuck, I love time travel. I've said that numerous times on the show.
You need to see Primer right now.
Gotta see it. Alright, let's go to Kevin.
This is Spinal Tap.
You know what? That was a cult film for a long time. Yeah, it is one of those films that has gotten popular now, but you were absolutely right.
This one goes to 11.
I love that the robot with the soundboard on his chest just made a "this goes to 11" joke. Let's see, Callum.
Well, I'm going to put aside Scott Pilgrim because I think I've already talked too frequently about how much I love that movie. I checked according to the internet with this, either Train Spotting or Monty Python's Life of Brian, which according to the internet are cult classics.
Monty Python films in America were definitely cult films for a long time. In fact, I'd say that most of them still are.
Yeah, anything that's not Holy Grail is definitely cult.
Yeah. Even the Holy Grail, I think, for a while was cult, but yeah, definitely not anymore. But although people still kind of treat it in that, in that Anchorman cult sense. Like, if you go with that definition for the Anchorman film, I'd say that Monty Python still is, because that is one of those films that Holy Grail still is, because it's one of those films that everybody who's seen it can almost quote it line for line.
What are you talking about? I'm not the Messiah. Yes, you are, and I should know. I followed a few.
Let's see. Let's go to Mike.
Probably Army of Darkness, because I actually got introduced to that before Evil Dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did it does have a backstory.
It didn't make Yeah, I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, but then again, that movie doesn't really need to make a whole lot of sense. It's just a great time. But yeah, going back, to the Evil Dead after that was definitely unique. But yeah, I really like Army of Darkness.
Cool. All right, Matt.
I'm going to go with Streets of Fire, 1984 film directed by Walter Hill that everyone should see.
Shit.
That involves a very young Diane Lane as the leader of a rock and roll band who is kidnapped by a young Willem Dafoe as leader of a biker gang wearing lederhosen, and her boyfriend is a drifter and comes to rescue her. It is billed as a rock and roll fable, and it is majestic. Also a great Rick Moranis role for anyone who is a fan of Rick Moranis, which is all good people.
That is totally a cult film. That is the definition of a cult film, what you just described.
Oh, absolutely.
Holy
I need to
shit.
see this movie.
Alright, Michelle.
Let's see. I feel weird saying this since it's a Disney movie, but The Black Cauldron.
I'd agree with that being... everybody even forgets that thing existed. So yeah, that's the definition of a cult film.
Yeah.
I would actually be willing to put money down that Peter Jackson was inspired heavily by that film when making Lord of the Rings. Because he's outspoken as a fan of that, and when you watch it, Gurgi is totally Gollum. Gurgi is 100% like Gollum's mannerisms in there. But let's see. Anybody else seen The Black Cauldron or even has any idea what I'm talking about?
I remember watching it when I was younger as part of my giant Disney video set, but I can't remember anything about it. It's one of those things I need to revisit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alright. Well, alright, I got to end on mine then, and we're ending on me because I said I'm going to talk the shit out of this. The Evil Dead trilogy is by far my favorite cult classic film of all time. The first Evil Dead film is one of my favorite films of all time. I have to, I know it might be controversial, but I love that movie so much. That is the film that got me into horror. And when I was a kid, even to this day, any film that is set in the woods, automatically has a little bit of an extra scare to it because I actually grew up like a mile into the woods with no other houses around. So it already struck a chord with me on that. But very few films make me as passionate about filmmaking as the first Evil Dead movie. Because you watch that, and if you ever hear the stories about that film and how it was made, it was literally just a bunch of college kids with a camera going into the woods, and they were just Sam Raimi coming up with crazy ideas for camera shots. And they were like, we have no idea how to do that. And then he would just go, give me some lumber and a hammer. And he would just build something on the spot that did not exist to that point. They didn't even have a name for it. They'd call it the Ramo Cam, and he'd just duct tape the camera to the front of it, and bam, you have something that can shove a camera through a glass window. It's, I want to get something that can shake the camera at this way, and we don't have the professional gear. Give me some hammer and some wood. Bam, I will build something. It is incredible to me watching that film and just thinking about how that was just guerrilla filmmaking right there. And also, everybody talks about how hilarious the second one. The first one is just flat out scary as hell to me. I love that, to me, I've always described that film as The Exorcist if there were thousands of demons and you're surrounded by them. And as for, the second film, that's the film that really brought Bruce Campbell to everyone's mind who's seen that film. Anybody who has seen that film automatically wants Bruce Campbell to get more work. Because that is the film that has some of the best one-liners I've ever seen in a movie. It's not the fact that it has some of the best ones, it's got like multiple best one-liners all thrown in there. And I absolutely I have a tradition where every single year on Halloween I have to watch Evil Dead 2 with the director commentary, because those guys are totally aware of what film they made. They do not, to me it is a piece of art, but they do not treat it like, oh yes, and with this shot we were going for this. Not saying that that's bad when directors do that, but you watch the director commentary on that movie, and it's Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and like all the other big guys who made that film coming together and basically just doing a Mystery Science Theater 3000 of that movie, and just making fun of the film non-stop. Like, even at the good stuff, making fun of it. Like, sure, they point out, that, oh, you can see the lights in the roof and you can see where the cabin ends. But they make fun of even the good stuff in that film. And it's so good. But yeah.
I will back up that commentary being great. There is also on the original Evil Dead a commentary by Sam Raimi and then a commentary by Bruce Campbell where they offer different facts about the movie.
They do!
The conflicting facts.
It's so good, because when you listen to those two guys on the second one talking to each other, you find out that Sam Raimi just loves tormenting Bruce. Like, I mean, there's moments where, like, Bruce is driving the car and gets smacked by a branch, and Sam goes, I did that. Like, he was the guy with the branch smacking Bruce with it. Every single time that Bruce just gets his ass kicked in that film by, like, one thing off camera, it's Sam doing it. And you can tell that Sam just loves tormenting him. So you're right, when you go back to the first one, you absolutely, like, can tell that the two of them just had different experiences making that movie. But yeah, Bruce Campbell also admits that they smoked pot on camera and then decided to record it. And then they went, well, we can't include this. That was one of the deleted scenes that was on that VHS tape that to this day I'm trying to hunt down. Them smoking pot and then just
They were right to
about.
cut that scene. It's terrible.
It is terrible, but it's like, oh my god, I want every single part of this movie to exist because I love it so much. Alright, well, I was Aaron. This was Callum.
Yep.
This was Mike.
Yay.
That was Kevin over there.
I'm a robot.
Jackson's in the bottom corner.
Yo, what up?
Maz was the secret square.
On Twitter, at Mazim, 2 M's, 2 C's, and an A.
Oh yeah, we probably should have done that professionally. Matt, what's your Twitter?
Twitter.com/litrock. I will talk cult movies at you forever.
I was going to say, this is the guy, you didn't respond to any of the messages, but I'm so glad that you were here, because you are the guy we need on this episode. This is Michelle to my left.
Hello.
And I am Aaron. You probably know our Twitter handles by now. If you don't, The Obscure Fan, Miss Scribbles, at Callum Patch, at Tylea002, at Kevin Film, and at M. Sweareris.
every time. It's
Close enough.
Yeah, alright. Spelled exactly like it sounds. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.